Welcome to the Scaling Tech Podcast, the podcast for growing engineering teams. As always, this episode is brought to you by AgilityFeed.com, providers of technical staffing and software development services in Latin America for clients globally.
All right, I'm here in Mexico City doing recordings around AI engineering for the Scaling Tech Podcast. And when people talk about AI engineering, building AI applications, we tend to be very Silicon Valley focused in that conversation, which is a shame because it misses out on a lot. In Latin America in general, we have a tremendous amount of engineering talent and growing adoption of AI. And Mexico City is an interesting place to see kind of what's happening in that.
This interview is part of a series I recorded in Mexico City in early 2026. I'm sharing each conversation here in full on YouTube, and they'll also be featured in an upcoming Scaling Tech Podcast episode, where I'll tie together the key lessons and themes. If you enjoy these conversations, make sure to subscribe to the Scaling Tech Podcast so you don't miss the full episode when it drops. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, LinkedIn, and at scalingtechpod.com.
Arin Sime from the Scaling Tech Podcast here at the IAExpo in Mexico City. And now I'm talking with Osvaldo Ramirez Hurtado from the Panamerican Business School.
Yes.
Osvaldo, thanks for taking some time to speak with me. Tell me about your work.
Thank you so much. Well, it's a lot of work, I've been recently doing research. Also, I'm just part of the Panamerican Business School since I was, I think, almost 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing a lot of things behind, like re-engineering on all the programs that we have, specifically on the bachelor's and all the masters. Adapting all the programs and the needs, and also adapting and bringing new technologies to the main core of the students. That's the reality that we've been doing. On my case, I've been doing research and papers, which I just recently published one about the guardrails on the front of the technology and on the front of the LLMs. That's something that is very, very, if you are curious about, you can read more about. But all those pieces brings me as well to what is the definition now of AI and what is the real value added to any of the circumstances, not just educational, also to the companies, and bringing and connecting the companies with the students and with the knowledge itself and how you can create value. That's one of the pieces that I've been just doing my research.
No, that's great. And I really I enjoyed your presentation and appreciate you sharing your perspective with us, because I think that there's so much very exciting stuff going on with AI, and we can get very excited about it from a purely technological perspective about the things that we can do.
Yes.
But ultimately, for this to really be useful to society and businesses and individuals, we have to create value with it in some way, right?
Exactly.
And so how do we measure that value, and how do we make sure that we design our work around delivering value, I think is really interesting and was part of your presentation. So, I guess maybe let's start with, how do you avoid doing a Vanity AI project?
That's a great question. When you are thinking about a new project with AI and you're bringing this decision coming from the C-level or whatever is the level in the companies, and you have to think about first, are we really ready as a company? And thinking, we are an AI first? That's first of the questions, AI first, what's the definition of AI first companies, since we are now in this transition? AI is not new. AI has a lot of years ago. And through all this, one of the experiences that I've been reviewing and looking at is the vanity projects related on the recent pieces, Vanity projects normally didn't bring a lot of value itself. Mm-hmm. You can create laboratories, you can experiment with different decisions, you can have shadow AI practicing, which is a not good practice, that people is just saying, okay, I just have my own agent and doing things internally without any responsibility.
Yeah.
So those pieces creates a lot of bad ideas and results, and they are not connected directly to the real value on an investment or summary for a CEO or some decision makers, So the vanity projects are also connected to something. The bag of ideas of how the technology itself, it's still a provider or a supplier of needs, and it's not enhancing like cost and expenses. That's something that you should be care about. During the conference, I was just amazed about the definition of two concepts, CapEx and OpEx. So that's operational expenses and capital expenses is where should I just allocate my projects at the beginning of everything? That's the first question.
Right.
Should I invest or should I just expend? Even when you are thinking in tokens, if you were thinking in tokens or something like that, that's like the really elementary pieces. Should I just go for a CapEx and a token perspective? Should I just keep in tokens in the CapEx or what is happening, So those specifics are coming to my mind and say, okay, this is a vanity project. There's no definition of anything about the vanity project piece,
So we need to kind of start up front with some idea of like what the KPIs are for success from a business perspective.
Definitely. Normally the KPIs are also an important piece, If you are still having the thing that AI will establish a new KPIs, like for example, hallucination rate or something, that's definitely, yes, great, but that's a vanity KPI of an AI project. That's not a definition. There is still expenses and earnings, literally. So you have to think about how to identify those, connect the real value into the universe. And for that reason, if you are moving towards to having the first projects or your second project, proof of concepts, which is a great definition for me, you have the start and the ending point, and the proof of concepts is death, When you are thinking a proof of value, what you are delivering is immediately an action of thinking about bringing solution and immediately goes directly to the core business and see if that is really in a test perspective environment and control environment, functional works. Otherwise, you are just losing time and money, And the proof of value is not still an adoption context and definition, because people is still thinking like in a way on the past, should I just build something which is end-to-end? Not thinking in a way of more in a ML ops perspective, right? You should be thinking about training and retraining and so on, and not thinking just establish one piece and then at the end, should I just finish and that's my delivery and that's it? No. Today it's a different spectrum and a different way.
Yeah. And I really like the framing around a proof of value instead of proof of concept. And, because it gets to something we've talked about before AI of just, how do we validate business ideas and make sure that that our tech teams are building something that's truly useful to our users, to our customers, to the business. And I guess, so it's not a new concept, but you could say that like many things, AI accelerates it and makes it even more important, right? That because we don't want to just rapidly create things that no one needs or don't create value. We want to rapidly create things that are actually valuable, right?
Yes, and specifically on the proof of value, what it will brings to us is the escalation process that any single project needs on AI. Mm-hmm. If you are starting on a specific cell or in a specific unit, if you are thinking in a value, you can escalate the value as long as you are moving towards having something different. The science, connecting dots, bringing the correct talent, taking the exact decisions, because talent and also the risk itself, the governance, the data, you have the chances to identify all those dots, start to connect what exactly is needed, and then you can escalate. Otherwise, you will be always having a proof of concept, literally beautiful proof of concept, because I literally have a lot of projects that is being in my hands, and I can say now that a proof of value is more on the way that you can escalate and see potential opportunities there,
Perfect. So in your research and in the, many companies that you speak with, have you seen, are there particular common use cases where you see value being created the most with AI?
Yes, I do recently have an experience on a medical area perspective. We just trained 300 medics, and one of the things that I just found there, just can't recall one of the examples. We were just chatting with this medic, and he was sharing with us that he creates an agent for he document all the life of his daughter. His daughter has diabetes too. And this case brings my attention because he's been using Grok.
Okay.
For having all the treatment behind his daughter.
Yeah.
Using Grok. So he trains all the agent, and he literally told me a clear statement, I will not take any other advice that something coming from an agent created in Grok. Which brings my attention because those use cases are now happening nowadays, and people is adopting in any ways the usage of models that expose opportunities to bring something for their own specific child. Just imagine something which your relative it's a direct relative, is his daughter, and he's doing that bit. So he was literally in life asking to the agent, what should I do next?
Right.
When she have 3 years, 4 years, 7 years, he's thinking in having the agent that will be in the company of her daughter all her life. So that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Those kind of use cases that I just found the most that calls my attention during this last three months.
Oh, those are interesting types of use cases because they also challenge us to think differently than about, you say, how we've done medical care in the past, or consultations or things like that, because it gives us an opportunity to maybe scale conversations in a way that we've never considered before. And
just imagine how disruptive it is, because now the ChatGPT help, for example, which is helping us to taking a lot of decisions. And we should give you an example, not ChatGPT, but Grok is still not there on a health system.
Yeah.
But even though it's an important piece to have an opportunity to experiment with a model, brings that information, showcase that case, and how an industry could be just disrupt just right away in that use case, without in that single piece,
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Thank you. So for any of our viewers of this who are, let's say, they're engineering leaders, and as engineers, we get excited about the technology first. Oftentimes, we're thinking tech first. But of course, we want to deliver value, and that's ultimately, perhaps, I know that's why I became an engineer originally, is, being able to deliver value into the world like that. So what kind of advice would you give to an engineering leader tackling an AI transformation project to make sure that they're in it for the value, for creating value, and not just, shiny tech?
Let me start for 3 advices. I think the first advice that I will give to this guy who is taking decisions, or girl, because should be both, and I would like that also not just men's, also women's comes on board, because it's amazing to see how they are disrupting this industry as well. What I just believe in these 3 things. The first one is think about first on the need of the business, rather than think about more on the engineer or system perspective.
Right.
Technology will be always there.
Right.
It will be exponential. It will be always someone who did something, create something, and so on. Think about the internal need. And then through the internal need, make the description align to that piece. Whenever you are looking for some talent, align the description. Give the time to analyze if the description match with the process, because nowadays we are in a disruption moment where the job descriptions are not immediately perfect, and normally you are expecting that this guy arrives and you want an evangelist with a lot of technologies, vibe coding, a lot of coding itself, and so on, when you are just needing someone who translate the business needs into an AI world. And that's the reason one of the programs that I've been seeing in the MIT is this AI product development, for example, just giving you some examples. Or Harvard is also doing some around this. But the AI engineers needs to think about that area as well.
Yeah.
And also, the second piece for me is being directly not just thinking in code, thinking as well more widely open on science, mathematics, statistics, and more mixture of fields that you will be needing to interpret your own code. If you are seeing the code as itself, you will see always code, and the code will not be anything related to mathematics, to physics, to anything. So those preliminary things, you have to think about that. And the third piece is always think about, you have to reduce your own ego. You have to work on the soft skills rather than the hard skills, because otherwise you will be always being in the top of the ego perspective and not reducing your way of translating the needs of the business,
Oh, fantastic. So that's a great segue to my last question for you, because, you highlighted there that, an engineer traditionally their education is going to be focused on really strong technical concepts and technical architectural foundations, right? But you identified that engineers today need soft skills, understand business value, maybe more statistics or, even physics or, right? So what do you see as an educator yourself as kind of gaps in education, or what we need to be doing as maybe at the university level, or let's say also companies when they're bringing in junior talent and trying to raise them up into like an AI engineer role? What do they need to think about?
I think as an educational, expert, let's say, I don't like to say expert, but at least someone who has been in the educational field for so long. One of the things that I just miss nowadays and hopefully not in the future is grab all the programs, review if the reality on the programs are immersed in AI. Otherwise, you cannot say marketing as marketing is. We were just saying by marketing is, for example. So you need to translate the current needs on any of the industries. I'm not saying adapting to AI, but you have to go to the core of the program and see if the reality matches with the needs of the market. Otherwise, if you are still selling products or bachelors or masters just because you are adapting or adding the AI perspective just because, then the naming will be a commodity piece.
Right.
Rather than literally adding value to the market. That's my experience, gives me the chance to see or to establish conversations on that area. And as well, the thing that you also cannot do is completely goes directly to AI, because you will be needing more fields, connecting fields on giving the chances to the new students. Like, for example, on my own career, on my own major, I would like to have more coding or more physics. Today, the physics and the mathematics are essential for this. So you have to think about what exactly is the needs, and then establish those programs aligned to those specifics. So if you are thinking just linear in the way that the structural programs are, you will not be arriving. You will be arriving to the same generation. Nothing else, nothing new.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So we need to have a well-rounded education, and in order to understand not only how to use AI for business value, but also to help us understand what the opportunities and the challenges are with using AI and understanding how it works.
The way that you are teaching, because the way that you are teaching is still like people just in some chairs sitting and expecting from the guidance tutor, mentor, whatever, expecting from him to bring information. No.
Yeah.
The plan is broke, release all that, move the classroom and see that the classroom is everywhere. The classroom is collaborative. The way that we think is different. So you don't have to still teach in the same way.
Yeah.
So you have to think more broadly on that. And that's the reason that I've been recently implementing laboratories. So the first thing that I just mentioned whenever the students comes is you are strictly in a laboratory where you will be grabbing and sitting just around myself and think. You will be thinking here first and then go directly to the laptop. Otherwise, you will be just learning commodities as it is.
Right.
So you have to think first, using your skills, using your soft skills to define what should be the next step, and then move ahead on implementing whatever is needed. If you needed a Mistral, Gemini, whatever is needed, because those are commodities, you have to think about those. And then through that, teach them how to take decisions in the long run. Of whenever they are in a business perspective decision, what should be the best scenario for me? Should I just go for this model, What exactly is the definition of that? Should be AI in this?
Right.
So those are the questions that I just invite to my students.
Perfect. I love it. The classroom is everywhere. That's a great way to think about all of this. Thank you so much for your time, Osvaldo.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching. This conversation will be part of our upcoming Scaling Tech podcast episode on AI engineering in Mexico. Like, subscribe, and check out more at scalingtechpod.com.